And we are live. Hey, everybody. This is Perfect Madness Wrestling, making our triumphant return back to the podcasting world. Sorry for the long hiatus, but, when things get our Irish up like TNA, we just got to return to the airways and talk about it. We have, me, who is very anti-TNA. We have Adam Eaton, who just watches it because he's an addict, and Ryan Yanashaditz, because he's a TNA mark. And we're all going to talk about wrestling, TNA wrestling, Impact Wrestling, which the issue of not knowing if it's TNA or Impact Wrestling is just one of the many things that we're going to talk about with their ridiculous identity crisis. So I will throw it over to Adam to introduce himself first.
It's great to be back. We'll call this season 2, since it felt like we took a break between seasons. Hopefully season 2 will go longer than season 1. That's a great point. Whether you're calling it TNA or we're calling it Impact, it really bothers me because it's called Impact Wrestling, but they have the TNA titles, and it's just kind of, I don't know, do I say the Impact Wrestling title or do I say the TNA title? Sometimes I feel weird, awkward calling it TNA like I'm not supposed to. So that's confusing.
the what I heard is that it's like the pay-per-views are TNA, like the weekly show is Impact Wrestling, is what I thought it was. I could be wrong, but I thought that's what it was.
Well, introduce yourself first.
Oh, fine, whatever. I'm Ryan Yanashadis from the Ringside Report. The last time I was on this, I was at WrestleMania, and it didn't go too well because I had a big idiot with me, but nonetheless, yeah. Ringside_rep is the Twitter. Follow me. YouTube.com/RB Enterprises, all that stuff. So yeah, that's it.
How do you spell Enterprises? Is there a Z in there? I wasn't quite sure.
Yes, there's a Z in there.
Okay. And obviously you know me as the great Jesus Oliver. I don't really need to introduce myself any more than... Because you guys should know who I am. I'm awesome.
Does Frankie DeFalco know who you are?
No, he still thinks I'm like fucking Koloff or something. I'm Jesus Koloff Oliver. Jesus. Don't even get me into indie wrestling right now. I will... That's not the time. I want to direct my anger towards TNA first.
Should we start this show with the national anthem?
Well, we did start 15 minutes late. Like, almost feel like it's appropriate. Does anybody have a recording of it? Because I don't have the jets to fly overhead.
No.
Okay. That's not what we want to talk about. Let's steer this back to TNA's cheap production value.
Okay.
So, what do you want to start with first? Well, let's continue this argument of TNA versus Impact Wrestling since we're here. A lot of people have that issue of, is that their weekly show? Is that their new rebranding that somehow they can polish this turd and get people to watch them?
Well,
I don't know. I feel like they've dropped TNA from everything but their titles, and that's what's confusing because it's always on Impact Wrestling. It's not TNA Impact Wrestling unless you're a fan and you're talking about it. Hey, did you watch TNA? Throughout their show, I feel like the only time they talk about TNA is when it comes to the titles. When you watch Raw, yeah, we know Raw is a weekly show under the WWE brand, but they talk about the WWE, they talk about the WWE Universe, the face of the WWE, and everything. In TNA, on Impact, they talk about the face of Impact Wrestling. So you're just the face of the weekly show, but when it comes to pay-per-views, then you're nowhere to be found. And I guess we could explain that with Kurt Angle, who didn't appear on Slammiversary at all, but is their champion.
Well, I mean, when you got... because it wasn't Impact Wrestling Slammiversary, it was TNA Slammiversary. And then, yeah, like the titles are TNA, but Impact Wrestling. So, I mean, I don't know. It's hard to defend it, because that's the reason you brought me on here. was to it's like you said, it's like polishing a turd.
No, I mean, we're not going to try to gang up on you. You're the counterweight to our just ambiguous
Is that a fat
TNA
joke?
hate. What?
Is that a fat joke?
Yeah.
Okay.
I more wanted you to have some counterweight since Adam Eaton's my, oh, fuck, Tony Atlas, who just laughs at all my jokes. So.
Should have
Abraham.
got my daughter's rubber duckies down here.
As long as you don't have shoes around you, we're good. Okay, so I mean, let's go. Since we're talking about Slammiversary, do you want to talk about the ridiculous taping schedule? Do you want to go chronologically, or not?
Yeah, let's talk about the taping schedule because that ruins what Slammiversary was. So we have to talk about that first in order to understand my thoughts on Slammiversary.
Okay, so for those that don't know, TNA went live on Wednesday, taped Thursday and Friday, their next few weeks
And
of
Saturday, I
television.
believe.
And Saturday?
I believe so.
Then, with the results online, where you can have that extrapolating argument of does internet kill the wrestling business, which is not what we're going to have right now, but the spoilers were then posted about those tapings before their arguably SummerSlam of the year, their second biggest pay-per-view. Which then fundamentally, in my opinion, makes their pay-per-view a moot point to watch. Why would I spend $50 if I already know the outcome of every match? Thoughts?
It's a Bound for Glory issue that we had last year. I stopped watching a couple weeks before Bound for Glory, and then stopped watching after. Didn't even watch for like their last 6 weeks of television, actual live television, and didn't start back until they aired on Destination America. The problem with the pay-per-view taping, I was going to look past it, because I don't like spoilers, so I'm like, okay, I could look past it. But then I realized there's no titles being defended, nothing really matters except for Robbie E versus Jesse Goddard, and otherwise, what was the point of the King of the Mountain match for a new title? Why bring a new title in? We'll get to that. But it was just pointless. Austin Aries and Davey Richards was wrestling to determine the stipulation of a match that had already taken place. It's hard to watch. That's a good match, but that's besides the point because the outcome didn't really matter because I could have just skipped forward to Wednesday night to see who's going to win the titles. Why do I want to pay to see who's going to get to choose the stipulation and then watch who wins the titles for free? None of that made sense to me. So Slammiversary got way down, knowing in the fact that none of it really even mattered.
The King of the Mountain match seemed a little rushed too. It wasn't as good as the other ones. I mean, it just didn't seem, nothing really seemed good on that pay-per-view. The Magnus James Storm match I think was pretty good.
It had good wrestling, but it's hard to watch good wrestling when there's not a good story, and that's why we watch pro wrestling and not MMA or UFC. Like, if I just want to see two people go out in the ring, I'll go watch that. Like, that's fine. If that's your thing, that's fine. But I watch wrestling for the story, and leading up to Slammiversary, there was really no story. Watching the Slammiversary, none of it mattered. It's like watching WrestleMania, and they're not defending the title at WrestleMania, but the winner of the Royal Rumble gets his title shot the night after WrestleMania on Raw. Like, that's how I view Slammiversary. And I know they say Bound for Glory is their biggest show of the year, but to me, it's always been Slammiversary because
Uh-oh.
Oh, we lost him? Uh-oh. Well then. Do you have anything to rebut to what he just said?
Well,
it's their anniversary show.
oh, this is turning into
had-
Slammiversary. Technical difficulties.
Yes. Ryan or Adam, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. My cat pulled out my headphones.
Okay, we'll just call your cat, rude.
Hashtag free Bobby.
Yes, free Bobby. I did forget the
We'll
premise of the
explain that in a
show
bit.
with somebody just better have a big bottle of alcohol with them because we're all just ripping on TNA today. And if you don't watch our show before, it's take a shot every time TNA gets dissed. So
So the challenge should be who can just constantly sip like gulp on some bottle while we do this, just like continually for like the next hour to an hour and a half.
we're brought to you by Jack Daniels. Perfect madness.
We are not responsible for any injuries that may go on in
Don't try this
this
at
game.
home. Okay, so let's go back to what you were saying. Adam.
I was pretty much done. Slammiversary meant nothing because of their taping schedule. You can't do that now. You can't tape before an event and then air them afterwards. This isn't 1995. Cause like it worked back then for WCW, but in hindsight, look what happened to WCW.
You got on the WWE Network.
Yeah, so they need to add more nitros.
They do. Definitely.
What are your thoughts on all that, Ryan?
Well, I agree with it because I mean it was stupid because their Slammiversary is more this Wednesday than it was its actual Slammiversary. I mean, you have the world title match, you have the finals of the tag team between the Dirty Heels and the Wolves, and I didn't read any spoilers, but it's pretty obvious with Kurt Angle having his neck tumor and Austin Aries leaving, and I'm pretty sure that EC3 wins the title, and so did the Wolves. But I mean, I yeah, that's pretty much. It was just that taping schedule was terrible, and that definitely wrecked the pay-per-view.
And that's one of the things that are really sad about TNA right now, in my opinion, is I was really looking forward to Slammiversary. I have not watched their show in 4 or 5 months, and figured, well, Slammiversary's here. I've always loved King of the Mountain. I'm glad to see they're bringing it back. Put it up for a title. I'll tune in. What the heck? Might as well. And then time got closer. The taping schedule was revealed. And I just could think to myself, why would anybody on earth pay $50 or whatever it is for this pay-per-view? And that's just what's killing TNA. They wonder why they're losing so much money. They pull crap like this. And you can argue, say what you will about the company. Dixie Carter has no clue what she's doing. It's just evident. Why would you make somebody pay this much for a pay-per-view, then give it away the following Wednesday for free? People want to see that show more than they want to see the pay-per-view. And if they're going to try to argue, oh, they're just doing it to get ratings, well, you're still losing a shit ton of money on pay-per-view buys. Like, why even have a pay-per-view then? Just do it on the TV again, on your weekly. There's no point in turning out all this money for live TV, for a live pay-per-view, all the fees, all the shenanigans that goes with it, just to, sink your own ship. This reminds me of when WCW would reveal all the results for Raw minutes before it went on the air. The difference is, I'm not paying $50 to watch Raw. In the world of the internet, people are just going to go online and pirate it and find a feed and go with it because it's not worth the money. Okay, so since we're all pretty much in unanimous agreement, let's go to EY's tweets about the show. Who wants to take this one by the horns?
Does anyone have the actual tweet?
I can. I noticed them first. Actually, I noticed them while I was on Twitter.
Look at Adam Eaton.
Are you guys there?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're here.
Oh, okay.
He's being all hipster.
I actually noticed them while I was on Twitter promoting Perfect Madness, which you can follow us at PMW Podcast. I was tweeting about the show, thanking Austin Aries for his time since he was leaving. And I After the show, I seen some people get in an argument with Eric Young, and he told people to F off. And as a pro wrestler, as a professional at anything, you need to be aware of what you do and what you say. Because we pay our money to watch this, so we have
Well,
an opinion. We're allowed to have that opinion. And if you, it's hard to explain. Like, I'm just baffled that someone like EY would go and do that. But Slammiversary did suck. Like, there was no storyline. The reason we watch pro wrestling is for the story, and for no story to be shown at Slammiversary. Like, it did suck. The matches didn't have any meaning behind them, and that's what people take away. There was no emotion to connect to Slammiversary, and that's why it sucked. It wasn't that the matches were bad. It's just there was no reason to watch those matches. For him to get defensive, and then here's my thing: if you have to get defensive of your pay-per-view, that tells you it sucked. I don't see Seth Rollins going on Twitter, oh, if you don't like Battleground, then F off. Like, seriously? Like, the WWE is not going to care. They're just going to steamroll ahead and go on to the next show and the next show. And, we hope they would get better, but judging over the last 3 years, they're not. But that's besides the point. If you have to go on Twitter and defend your pay-per-view, something's wrong. And that's what I took from it more than the F off part. But just something's wrong if you have to defend the company's pay-per-view.
Do you think he did that more out of frustration, like knowing that he knew that pay-per-view sucked, but he needed to defend it because I think he knows within the next couple of months he's probably going to be out of a job?
It could have been. It could be frustration. Like, I felt him being very frustrated, but at the same time, you're a person in the public light, and I mean, it just you have to watch what you say, and especially coming from EY, who has multiple shows outside of Impact Wrestling. Like, any number of networks could see that and just
like, oh, hey,
release them
they're not
because of
gonna
that
like
one tweet.
the episode of whatever he does, that fishing show, and he's gonna tell people to fuck off because they don't like it. No, that makes you think twice about
Right.
putting them on that show.
Yeah, same thing just happened to Donald Trump this week.
Exactly.
Huge difference between them.
But I'm just saying,
He's not saying all MMA fighters,
Yeah.
everything that Trump just said. I'm just not even going to repeat it. Shoot. I think that EY is frustrated because I think, like many of the wrestlers, they can see the writing on the wall, and if they can't, then they're idiots. Because even from what you told me about Russo's paper article today, I have yet to read. Well, they're giving them all the talent in the world. Creative and management aren't doing anything for them. But at the end of the day, why do we, I'll give all the credit to the worker, but when they have a terrible gimmick and then tell people to fuck off to defend that terrible gimmick, either own up to it and say, yeah, we're working on it, or just don't even continue. It's like, in my opinion, I thought the pay-per-view was a really good show. Sorry you didn't enjoy it. And there's polite ways to go about disagreeing. You can disagree without being disagreeable.
How about he just ignores the fans? Like, you don't have to respond to the people.
That's crazy talk.
I know, you get into fight with everyone on Twitter. I mean, you got in arguments with U.S. Cellular. Is that still going on?
No, I dropped that. I'm not bored with it. One of the fun things I enjoyed now is I got blocked by Taz because I asked him on his main page years ago now. This would be 2 or 3 years ago. Why on his wrestling account for Twitter he didn't promote the company he worked for. And he got into an argument with me. He would have easily just ignored me. But you want to come yell at me because I'm just a smark, and why would I want to help promote a company that's paying my bills? That's just preposterous. and to get blocked. It just shows that you're an asshole. You're a terrible person. And you can say that about an indie promoter in the area. We can disagree, but it doesn't mean you have to block me and help you from promoting your show. You know, you're a public figure. Have half a brain. Be an adult.
And that's the thing, the difference between TNA and WWE. WWE wrestlers only favorite or retweet like positive things,
Hmm.
and it's very rare that they even respond sometimes, or even favorite or retweet. I could right now go and say something good about any TNA wrestler, and I'll like maybe 5 times out of 10, like half the time, I'll get a favorite or a retweet. And it's good for them, like I get it, because they're trying to promote their company, they're trying to get that fan interaction, and it's good. But at the same time, you have to be careful if you acknowledge negative comments, and if you're not, you can acknowledge them and start a discussion with someone, and I'll respect you more for it because I'm like, oh, look at this, you know, they're actually having a conversation instead of just being like, F off. That's dumb. That's not needed. You can just ignore them for that.
I agree, and it just comes down to lack of judgment. I think EY maybe had a bad day, but I mean, even on my worst day, I don't tell people to fuck off as much as I want to tell Brandon to. It's just,
Well,
you know, be responsible.
yeah, he deserves it though. He's a yeah. Next
It'd be like
topic.
FCK of, though, for Brandon, so.
Hey, he's a great speller. Helen Keller could spell better than him.
I know. Thanks, Andy Frank. Um. So yeah, I guess we're cruising pretty quick through here. We might get to our final heated
I
debate
think the
of
tweets.
Von Lesnar.
One more thing about the tweets. I think it comes from a lack of management. Because if somebody in the WWE did that, they would be fined, suspended, stripped of a title, whatever the punishment was. And TNA just doesn't have any management. They don't care. Dixie's too nice, if you want to use that argument. They probably don't even realize that Eric Young said it because it had to do with
Yeah.
TNA, so they probably don't realize it.
No one in TNA realized it
Eh,
until it blew up online, and now they're like, "Oh my God, issue an apology." I do
So
want
it
to
appeared on
read
Twitter.
one tweet. I want to read one thing he retweeted. Let me go find it because I thought it was quite interesting. And if anybody in WWE did that, they would subsequently be fired. And I think that's pretty interesting.
Well, come on, find it.
Where was Abyss for this pay-per-view for Slammiversary? Where has he been lately?
He was a part of the Revolution, and then everyone from there is gone, so he's gone.
Okay.
He showed up as Joseph Parks on last Wednesday, got beat up by Bram before Matt Morgan's return,
Ooh. Okay, here's the tweet he
and
retweeted.
then
It said, Eric Young, I don't want TNA to go out of business. However, I'd like a rebrand and want TNA Dixie to resign because she's so incompetent. He retweeted that and said, respectable opinion. Well, I completely agree with that Dixie needs to be, needs to resign. They can't rebrand because right now they don't know what their brand is. Are they TNA? Are they Impact Wrestling? So, I mean, that they're still stuck in a rebranding. But if anybody said, like, oh, Vince needs to retire and you need to, you know, rebrand WWE, they would not have a favorable light in the company.
No.
And I bet that went under the radar because TNA doesn't overlook any of that crap. And now that I think about it, they could employ, you know, one of the many journalists from our last website that live off of the news from Twitter. So here you go, TNA, free advice. Call me Russo. Let's
well, that
move
just
on.
goes into
Okay.
our next topic. or my little theory that no matter what TNA does fr from here on out, no matter how good they get, there's gonna be a number of fans that won't watch because Dixie's in charge. TNA could do the greatest shows for the next couple months, but people are going to be like, yeah, they're good, but when are they going to screw it up? Because they know Dixie's in charge, and they're just not going to give it the time of day because Dixie Carter is still in charge, because her and John, whatever his last name is, I don't know how to pronounce it, they've already alienated a bunch of fans by blocking people or telling people off or attacking journalists, if you want to use that word. They've been so unprofessional that nobody's going to support anything that they're involved with. So it really doesn't matter what TNA does from here on out until Dixie is gone.
Yeah, realistically, do you ever think she's going to be gone without this company going out of business?
No.
No, I don't. I think now it's become it's almost a rib on the entire wrestling industry that she's like, I'm gonna stick around just because people hate me, and somehow in her mind she doesn't get the rib that she's playing.
She's kind of like Vince McMahon 97, but doesn't realize it, like in all the wrong ways. Vince McMahon turned his heel character into something of gold, and she's just turning it into a stain of cow pie bingo.
She tried to be the heel character. She tried to do that last year, and it was god awful.
It was TNA-esque.
It was.
Oh, that table bump.
No, that was, to be fair, that was the one TNA episode I've watched, was just to see her through a table.
And they missed the table practically.
She, TNA.
She broke her back, okay?
Good. Should have done a hit her in the head with a chair and try to smarten her up. Yeah, but it comes down to it is TNA is so damaged as a product that there's nothing they can do to recover. Everybody remembers the glory days, and even to an extent, WWE is dealing with that same problem right now. A lot of the diehard fans up until 2005, they all went away because WWE got really bad. And the only people that stick around are the diehards, and now we're in that shit period of WWE, and I haven't watched Raw in 6 weeks. 5-6 weeks, because there's no reason to. Which is an argument for another date, but for TNA, there's no reason to watch TNA anymore. The product is garbage. You know when you tune in, you're going to get angry. And when the one show a year, Slammiversary, outside of Bound for Glory, after how let down we were last October, Slammiversary was going to be their saving grace, and they take a frickin' steamer on that one too. What can they do to be a good company again? And that would be close and make way for a GFW or one of the many other shows that are up and coming.
Do you like the whole, I don't know if this is going to be a topic later, but do you like the whole thing of the invasion thing that they're doing, or does that just sound like the whole thing that WWE did back in the day?
I like the idea of the invasion. The problem is they're going to fuck it up. WWE, the only reason that failed is because nobody good came over. They didn't have a Kevin Nash or a Hogan. They just had people like, was it Sean Stasiak or something? Like really
Buff
B-level
Bagwell.
people. What was that?
Buff Bagwell.
Buff is the stuff.
He didn't come over, did he?
Yeah, he had like 2 matches and got fired after SmackDown. Or he main evented Raw with Booker T, and then his mom called in the SmackDown taping, and Jim Ross released him after that.
I like
I
Buff.
remember that now.
You're right. And so all the people that could have made TNA great, they're most likely going to show up and make fans really want to see them. But how is TNA going to mess it up, is what it comes down to.
And that just proves my point that there's no faith in the company as long as Dixie's in charge.
But even GFW now, like with the taint of all the TNA, I don't think that they could really make it work. I don't know if it's GFW invading TNA, and then what is going to be the ultimate goal? We're going to have an NWO like GFW versus TNA. Nobody cares about TNA. Why would we watch GFW? They're still going to have the taint of TNA on it. What do you guys think about the invasion angle? Don't let me sell you.
I'm still in the air on if there's actually an invasion angle happening. We, for years, have asked TNA to do something, whether it be with the X Division or bring the King of the Mountain back. And now everyone's like just assuming that here's this big invasion angle. But it's TNA, and I don't have faith that they're going to do it. And even if they do, you release Magnus, or you don't sign it, you don't re-sign his contract, and then he signs with GFW the next day. James Storm is gone, and there's rumors that he's going to GFW. And it's just like, so now you're taking TNA guys, you're releasing them, putting them in GFW just for them to come back. That's the way we could have gone.
And the other thing, too, that's really going to ruin it is that they aren't live shows.
Right. I had this discussion in our group. Someone asked when it would take place. Apparently, from what I read from the spoilers, or I don't read spoilers, but from what I've heard, is that the only time Jarrett appears in a TNA ring in these next set of tapings that are set to air is to be inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Which AJ Styles denied, by the way.
What did
Good
you
for
know?
him. The TNA. They wanted Styles over Jarrett, but Styles said no. Again, for like the third year in a row.
Okay. Rightfully so. They
But it's
ruined
just-
his... Sorry.
So unless there's, like Russo said in a podcast I watched of his the other day, unless there's backstage segments taped or out of the arena like in Nashville or something taped, there's not going to be any angle regarding GFW for about 6 weeks. I know Jared has some big interview with Mike Tenay that's going to air tonight.
Ooh.
But are we really excited to see a sit-down interview?
Hey, it's going to be a good interview.
Is Michael Cole doing the interview? If Michael Cole was doing the interview, then
To be
maybe.
fair, it's going to be TNA just doing. Do you feel something? Blah blah blah. That's a very interesting point. Can you elaborate on that?
He's the professor.
Fuck TNA.
That's why he needs to be teaching and not asking questions.
He did. I liked him on commentary at Slammiversary, and you even agreed with me on that one, Jesus.
Yeah.
I love
But
Tenay
his
on
interviews are
commentary.
god awful.
The Pope annoys the hell out of me. I don't know why the hell they gave him a headset.
They wanted to get his money's worth. Their money's worth.
When did he ever come back, though? I mean, he hasn't been on the roster for years. He can't wrestle anymore, right? Or is he? What? I have no idea.
I don't know.
Miracle. I don't know. It shocked me. It took me a little bit to even realize it was the Pope. I tuned in the pay-per-view a couple minutes late, and then I'm like, wait a second. Is that the Pope? And they cut to it like a half an hour later, and I'm like, oh.
He's been doing Impact for about a month, but you said you don't watch it anymore, so that's probably.
Oh, more reason not to.
And Josh Matthews, I mean, he's okay, but I mean,
He went to the wrong company. He should definitely be in,
okay. Do you think this is a bad thing? They constantly they mention WWE a lot in TNA. Do you think? I mean, do you like that? Like they bring up guys past, like Drew Galloway. They always bring up that he was in WWE and stuff like that. Do you agree with that or no?
that is terrible, because it makes him look small time.
Well, that's
Second,
what they are.
I know, but why would you shine a light on it?
Because Josh Matthews still loves WWE.
Yeah, he's just doing his job.
True.
Can you call what Josh Matthews does a job though? Like,
No.
since he's gone to TNA, he's been horrible. I've been a Josh Matthews fan since I've seen him on Tough Enough, but since he's gone to TNA, like he's just been horrible.
Like
I don't
they're
think it hurts there.
like when they do their commentary, it's like I'm not understanding. They're in Nashville when they do it, but the tapings are in Orlando. It's just really confusing about how they do that.
Oh, they tape in a booth?
It's
Yeah, they're
another,
like a press box.
Wait,
it's like when they do a tribute to the troops.
Yeah,
okay.
but they actually show these guys. Like they show them, and it's
In their little studio.
yeah, yeah. So
It's like watching a WWE Best of Matches DVD, where you have the guy standing in the studio. It's like, and now we're gonna go to this match, and they show the match, and then come back to the guy.
Make it all really ridiculous and their antics. Sorry. This is turning into more sketch comedy, like physical comedy than, whatever. I don't expect you to understand that, Adam, but, we'll just roll with it. Where were we, though? Shit, where were we? Oh, bringing up TNA, or WWE and a TNA thing. It doesn't make much sense because WWE rarely acknowledges other companies because if they're not making money off of it, what's the point? They don't care about WWE. I mean, like, I'll bring up, Ringside Report or something like that, or other shows. Like, I'll bring up SSW because I really like SSW. I want to see that product succeed. I want to see Ringside Report have moderate success, which it kind of does. But I'm going to bring that up because while there's not a financial gain, there's a personal interest in wanting to see them grow. Where TNA get zero benefit from WWE's mentioning. It hurts them more than it helps.
yeah.
I understand the thought process behind it though, because you're like, oh, here's this guy who's a former U.S. champion, and still to this day, like I ignore the WWE's version of the U.S. title, and I hear U.S. champion, and I think Sting, Flair, Rhodes, stuff like that. So it kind of legitimizes the wrestler, but at the same time, like the fans don't view it that way. So they're just like, oh, so this is just another guy that couldn't make it in the big time WWE that you brought over here. And that's how it goes. Because for some reason,
oh, go on.
people bash TNA for signing the guys that couldn't make it to the WWE. In my opinion, if you got looked at by the WWE, then you're one of the best. So why not sign that guy? Why not have the best? Why go to the other indie promotions that aren't getting looks and sign that random guy that most people don't know? Like, at least put a familiar face up there and then make the character TNA and have him the TNA guy instead of the former WWE guy that couldn't get signed to the NXT roster.
I completely agree. And there's the whole point of you need to create your own talent, but there's also the issue of now you're just bringing up pieces of crap. Like, you're bringing up this history of a wrestler who couldn't make it. Like, I don't see Brodus Clay, I don't know what his name is in TNA. Tyrus. I don't see him becoming a big player. He just doesn't have it in him.
He's actually on the global or GFW roster and TNA's at the same time.
Really?
But then here's the thing. He was supposed to be on some events for Global Force Wrestling, and then TNA made him get pulled from them. They pulled him from those events. And now they're working with Jarrett, and that's a whole other thing about this whole confusing subject that's going on between them.
Did you see that allegedly GFW is coming to Wisconsin in a week or two? Right?
Where?
Appleton?
That's far up north, isn't it?
Yeah, but Brandon just went there alone to see the little guy. Little horny.
Uh, uh. I mean, would you go to a GFW show if it was closer? Or not yet?
I would.
I actually want to go to their tapings in Vegas.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Tapings is Vegas is about 8 hours from me, and I was hoping to go, but I don't think it's going to be. I don't think I'm gonna be able to, but I was planning on going.
You can Uber it.
They're doing TV tapings or whatever. Do they even have a place where they're going to air their company at, or no?
No, that's the whole thing. That's why a lot of people are speculating that this whole Jarrett working with TNA is to swoop in and take their Destination America deal.
Oh.
Which isn't a
That
bad
could just be
idea.
internet rumors, but I mean, if it was real life and you actually really came in and stole
Took
their
their
thing,
spot.
that would be freaking hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
I think that would be instant ratings because you have all the Jeff Jarrett loyalists that don't watch TNA because of that. Then you have all the Dixie haters that don't watch TNA because of her. They're just automatically going to watch GFW for those two reasons right there.
Which is the only reason the invasion angle could work, is if they successfully take over. Like the biggest issue with NWO is they never took over. Long story short, that it'd be interesting to see what they could do with GFW. If GFW actually took over TNA, kicked all of them out, and took their time slot, because that would make Wednesday one of the hottest nights in wrestling.
Which Wednesday is the hottest night in wrestling because it has Lucha Underground.
Good point.
Is Lucha Underground good? I know it's. I mean, I've never
It's the
watched.
best wrestling show on the planet.
Is it really?
He's a mark.
It really is. It's the best wrestling show ever.
Throw it on there, Frankie.
Check it out. How's Vampiro and Matt Stryker on commentary?
Well, Stryker is amazing because he's Matt Stryker, and Vampiro's coming into his own. You have to deal with him the first like 3 episodes. He's kind of rough, and it's just kind of like wow. But he's gotten better throughout the year, I should say.
I'm thinking about jumping in about 3 episodes ago and just keep up current with them because I've been really enjoying their product. The first episode I was hooked, and then the next 2 were just good. The only downside to Lucha is the commentary, and it's all because of Vampiro. But he
gets better throughout the season.
If he gets better, then I'm gonna continue to watch.
Aren't they? They're on the El Rey network or something like that, right?
They are.
Right.
I don't even know what channel that is on DirecTV. I'll have to find it.
It's on there because they always promote DirecTV. Or just stream it online.
Yeah, that too.
But
So
let's go into their title being revoked, TNA from PWI.
yeah, wow.
TNA wrestling. So, from what you told me, because I didn't have a chance to read the article, PWI revoked TNA's world title status. What does that mean
Correct.
to you?
To me, like, okay, here's the confusing thing because I didn't know that PWI had that kind of power, and I don't know if they officially do or like. I understand Pro Wrestling Illustrated has been around for a while, and like when I say a while, I mean like way back when it was like the first wrestling magazine, I believe, or something like that, one of the first, and it's covered a lot of them from the territory days. I didn't know they had the power to recognize or unrecognize world titles. I don't know if that's just their publication doing it, so I'm not sure. Because to me, I felt like every promotion had their own world champion, but there was always only like one, and that was WWE's, and maybe WCW's at the time. But I just think it's hilarious and another blow that an actual publication is saying your world title means nothing. And it's sad to get that way, to have it revoked. I mean, to never have it is one thing. Like, I still recognize Jay Lethal as ROH's world champion, and he's a respectable champion because he's Jay Lethal, for one. But to have them say your world title means nothing is a major blow, and I think I think it's kind of funny actually.
I mean,
What do you think?
I don't even understand this. Like, is it that big of a deal that a magazine is not claiming a title?
That's what I'm saying because every territory has its own world champion,
Yeah.
and they're not
Joey
all
Owens
recognized
isn't
by
enough of a
PWI.
champion because a magazine isn't telling him that he is. I think it's just more or less a blow to them as a big company that they are dropping the ball so hard on their championships. But at the end of the day, I don't think it really matters. It's just more or less the internet is going to stir up all kinds of garbage about them.
It is like
Go ahead.
the problem is Dave Metzler or not Dave Metzler. I think John Gerbeck or whatever his name is tried to go after PWI after this announcement. And again, there's another thing of management running their mouths on Twitter. It's like just go about your business.
Yeah.
I bet the difference is I bet if PWI stopped recognizing the WWE World Title as a world title, Vince McMahon would be elated because he's not in the wrestling business anyways.
The sports entertainment. I don't know
Right.
what he called the IWC sport entertainment community.
Yeah, the ISEC, Internet Sports
Yeah.
Entertainment Community. Yeah. ISEC all the way.
Shut your mouth. But yeah, I mean, I don't think it really matters. It's just more or less the fans going crazy. I do think it's kind of like, hopefully, one of the many wake-up calls TNA should consider, but won't. So let's just moving on from there. Well, do you want to end this early, or do you want to get into our little argument? Oh, no, we have releases still. Let's get into releases. Even though we kind of already talked about them.
One
Yeah,
I'm definitely glad about is Taryn Terrell. Her voice, I don't know, if she's ever since she became a heel, she's hot, and she was hot as Tiffany, but she's just annoying as hell.
Actually, Taryn Terrell and Awesome Kong denied rumors that they were leaving.
Oh. Well, I bet they're still going. Whoops. Yeah, they're still going.
They
Yeah.
just. So you have Storm left, Magnus left, Austin Aries left, Gunner, Samuel Shaw. So that's 5. Yeah, the count's up to 5.
Okay. But does that matter to you guys? Do you think that's a sign of TNA sinking ship even more? Or,
Yeah, I think it is because it's not just like the guys on the bottom of the roster anymore. It's like guys that headline main events like Aries and Magnus and Storm. So I think this is the inevitable eventually.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like Tigre Uno and Robbie E and whoever else they have there is leaving. It's main event players. Isn't James Storm one of the last originals besides Abyss?
Bobby Roode too, I think.
Well, I mean, like from day one. I don't think Bobby Roode was there on day one.
I think he was. Wasn't he?
Because they only say,
In Canada or no?
he was up
I don't
on
think they
Team
debuted
Canada,
for
but I
like
don't
two
think he was
or
there
3 weeks.
day one. He was there shortly after.
Oh.
Right. So from like their very first show, I think it's only Abyss and James Storm. And the thing is, if you were to lose those guys and go in a new direction, that's one thing. But what direction are you going in? With who?
Now,
Kurt Angle?
EC3, I think right now, because he's going to obviously be world champion after tonight. Him and Bram, I like very much, and I think them two could definitely at least give them something. But because I'm high on them two guys, I don't know what you guys think of them, but I think EC3 being world champion's good, and I like Bram. I think I like his character, and I think he's got a lot to offer.
Honestly, EC3 is probably the best thing going in wrestling. Um, some reason that's the one thing TNA is doing a good job with, and they've built him up for what 15 months being undefeated, and now he's finally getting his title. And that's what pisses me off is the moment of him winning should happen at Slammiversary.
Yes.
That should be his moment, and it's being taken away. And it's like their one mistake that they've made in the entire EC3 build. He's good on the mic. He's good in the ring. He could be the face, but you have him. You have Bobby Roode. You said Bram. But then what do you have? You have Kurt Angle, Mr. Anderson, the Hardy Boys. Like, who else as a singles competitor is going to make that leap? Jesse Goddard? I mean, he's doing good on his own, but is he a world title guy? I mean, this is a good feud with him and Robbie E, but that's because there's story built. There's a couple years behind that. What happens when he goes off and he's not feuding with the Bromance anymore? I don't see anything. The X Division is crap. I mean, it just.
Yeah, the X Division.
So what direction are you going in?
Low Key was I loved Low Key in the X Division, but now he's gone too. So.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know. I
It's
feel
just
like
sad.
just one more blow after another. The company. I don't know. Don't know how much more they can handle.
Well, here, over under. I'm gonna give you this: 3 months. Over or under 3 months for TNA to go out of business,
In September?
or should I go 6 months?
It should be GFW by then.
Yeah.
Well, no, because September their contract is up with
If-
Destination America.
If
September we will know if they
true.
continue on or not.
Okay, so over or so. What do you say? Under, over, or
See, that's the big problem with TNA is that, everybody's wanted to discredit them for all their years of existence, and somehow they find a way to survive. Though I don't know where else they can run if they lose their contract, or if they lose their TV deal in September
And it'd be the second TV deal in a year.
that they've lost.
Right.
And as much as I want to say they're going out of business and they're done, they're going to have some kind of garbage little like a company or whatever, and be like, oh, we're on the internet now, come find us.
My thing is, if they stay TNA, they don't have much longer. If they merge or sell to GFW, they have a longer lifespan.
so will there be a Bound for Glory this year?
No. Unless it's taken over by GFW.
Unless it's GFW presents Bound for Glory, it won't be a TNA Bound for Glory. Unless they do it in London.
Oh,
And it's London only. It doesn't air in the US.
last year's Bound for Glory was a train wreck. Wouldn't London be just as bad?
Yeah, but it won't air in the US. They could go with all their London fans. Because they're big over there.
They are huge in London.
But here's my argument with that too. Like, if you only saw them like once a year, wouldn't you turn out for them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's my problem with WWE when they go to London too. It's not necessarily a problem, but they're like, oh, the fans are great. Well, it's like, no shit, because you only go twice a year, and you only have Raw there like once every so often. It's not like I could drive up and down California and go to Raw like 3 or 4 times a year if I wanted to. They don't have that in London. They get that like one time. Of course they're going to be crazy. It's the same with TNA.
Yeah. I mean,
But I guess ratings are good in London, or they were. I heard they actually declined.
Well, I know they do good ratings in England, and I've said for a while, without looking at the numbers, I think wrestling in London is bigger per capita than the United States.
It seems like
But
it. All the people that we've talked to that are from over there, it seems like
hmm
there's more going on over there than over here, especially being from California.
And the one thing too is that they get their pay-per-views for free over there in London. Like if I remember correctly, Summiversary was free.
Hmm.
With the
Marjorie-
WWE though, I think that they pay for a channel that the pay-per-views air on. So it'd be like if we paid to have ESPN and the pay-per-views aired on ESPN. I think that's how it is in London, from my understanding.
Yeah, it's like the WWE Network.
Yeah, kind of.
Okay, well, is there really anything else we want to add to this?
I got one more thing. We didn't really bring up the whole Jeff Jarrett thing. I mean, the way he came back, did you find that kind of cheesy? Like he came up to no music, and I'm a big Jeff Jarrett fan, and he just kind of just started walking around the ring holding hands with his ugly wife.
That's actually a debate that me and Jesus want to have.
Is
Do
it
you want
really?
to do this right now? We're at an hour.
Yeah, let's go ahead. I mean, we've only been on for like 55 minutes, I think.
Okay, let's go to half an hour. Do you want to start it or shall I? Ryan, you're the moderator.
Okay.
We've
Okay,
already
so-
argued once about this.
Jeff Jarrett returning unannounced was pure idiotic. I'm waiting to watch Impact Wrestling, and I usually watch it on Thursdays. I find a replay online, and it usually appears on Thursdays. But it was spoiled that Jeff Jarrett was returning, so I went through every website that I knew to find a replay right then and there to watch it. Now, that was me finding a spoiler trying to watch this show. So what would other people have known had this been announced on Twitter or on their website or somewhere? Like people would have tuned in, and then just for the unexpected return, it wasn't even like surprising. It was just Matthews and Pope being like, "Oh, what's going on? What's going on? Who's that?" Like Josh Matthews, is that new? He doesn't recognize Jeff Jarrett? Does he need his long hair? Has he been watching the network too much? Like what's going
He didn't
on?
come out with the NWA title. What's he doing?
His freaking cowboy hat wasn't lighted up, so we didn't recognize him.
Fireworks coming off his guitar.
The roadie wasn't with him. He had Karen and not the roadie. Like
There was no Jim Cornette.
it was very lackluster, and it could have been a bigger moment.
I agree.
He
Definitely.
could have came out and interrupted a match.
Mm-hmm. Or his music could have at least played. I mean, shit, all he did was just walk out.
You know TNA
The
can
fans
afford that.
there were just like, whatever. They're like, oh, this is Jeff Jarrett, okay.
Cool.
And it was very unfulfilling. Like, they could have said a big surprise return, something like one of the guys that was there that started the company, they could have promoted something and had him do something more. Like, there's a match, and then his music plays in the middle of the match, and he comes out and kicks him out of the ring or something. It just does something. Instead of just randomly walking down and just like, oh, I come back for one last match, blah, 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 because I started this. It was the most boring promo ever, too. Like, I was just like, okay, get on with it. Like, what's the point of this? Like, you're going to wrestle in a meaningless match on a meaningless pay-per-view, so it really doesn't matter.
And on the flip side, I brought up that it's different than Brock Lesnar. I think Brock Lesnar can come and go as he pleases because it adds more spontaneity to the product of WWE. That he doesn't need a televised return. Or not a televised return, a promoted return. He doesn't need to have a week's worth of billing or of promotion for his return all the time. I think it makes it a lot more spontaneous because he's with the company. You would expect him to show up randomly.
Yeah.
But for Jeff Jarrett, who has no interest, generally speaking, in the company that he's returning to, there's no point for him to be in that ring. You're flat out putting your competitor in the ring and steal your ratings. And I think that's ridiculous.
Yeah, another problem I had with that promo. How many times did he say GFW?
Way too many.
It was
Mm,
purposely like,
Yeah, you could tell something was happening between these two. Because how many times he said Global Force Wrestling? I mean, it was, and he had the shirt on, and it was terrible.
I could understand like one or two mentions, possibly three, and wearing the shirt. But it was me, Karen, and GFW. Me and GFW. I've been working on GFW. Like every sentence had something to do with GFW, and it was just like, well, now I don't even want to watch GFW.
it's like the whole
I
Bob
think
Dole
it's
thing.
like before the promo, he called Michael Cole. And he said, Michael Cole, I see what you've been doing with the WWE app, and you got it over 1 million subscribers. How can I do that for GFW?
Oh God. You come over to GFW.
Are you guys gonna? This is completely off the topic, but are you gonna watch? Oh, not really. But Brock Lesnar, of course, returning to the ring on what is it, Saturday morning in Tokyo. You guys gonna watch it live?
No.
I'm not watching for Brock Lesnar. I'm watching for Finn Balor and Kevin Owens.
Yeah,
I'm not watching it live, but I will eventually because I'm actually with my family on 4th of July. Probably gonna stand for a national anthem or two. Not sure yet. Don't want to get excited.
don't brew anything up there, Oliver.
Brew anything
Yeah.
up? I see what you
Yep.
did there.
Okay, I don't. Do you think? I mean, again, going off topic, but the whole Finn Balor's obviously going to win the NXT title, right? You got to think so, because then don't that give the open chance of Kevin Owens winning the U.S. title and pretty much getting him out of NXT for good?
Right. That's what the internet rumor is.
Because I think that would make them.
I think it would be a big mistake to strap him with the title.
You think?
Strap who with what title?
Strap Balor with the title.
Why?
I think they should get. I think they need to keep it on Kevin Owens and keep that going.
So where
I
does
don't
Joe
see
go
why.
with all this?
What?
What about Joe and all this? It's kind of like he's like Kevin Owens got like two storylines going on in one.
Yeah.
So when does Joe get a shot? Will it be him and Baylor then? Or
Keep pushing it towards a special event, a takeover,
yeah, it'll be in August.
and let that keep brewing. I enjoy seeing the title on WWE television.
Definitely.
I don't understand why everybody's so eager to take the title off of them.
Because
So I don't know. I think they would create some good drama, give a good match between those two, but there's no reason to take the strap off them yet. The only people that want the strap off Kevin Owens are the internet, and they clearly don't always know what's best for wrestling. The
my thing is,
ISECs.
if he's going to keep the NXT title, do you have him lose to Cena?
I don't see why not. I don't see what the issue is. I would like to see him with the U.S. title and carry them both. I think that would be really interesting. When have we seen that on WWE before? It creates more boost to the NXT, and it makes it interesting for television on Raw.
My thing is, I had a crazy idea that if Owens wins both titles and then combines them, so we get rid of the U.S. title, so we're just back to our World title, Intercontinental title, and the tag titles with the NXT title down on the network.
What I would prefer to see personally is does anybody know what comes first, Takeover or SummerSlam?
I don't know.
I thought there, 'cause in my mind, this is what I would prefer is to see Kevin Owens take out Cena at SummerSlam and have Cena take a powder for a couple months. I've talked to you about in private. Cena needs to take a couple months off, just refresh, recharge, and come back maybe at TLC or surprise entrant into the Rumble and just go. He's getting up there in age. He hasn't had time off in God knows how many years. Let him charge his batteries for a little bit during WWE's downtime and go.
But what does that have to do with Owens keeping the NXT title?
Because I would like to see Owens then drop that NXT title at the TakeOver event. He can get strapped at the US title, and then something happen at TakeOver, and then Owens is permanently on the main roster, and someone like Joe gets a rub at TakeOver. And
Yeah,
I
but it
think
could
that
still
clears
happen
up.
with Balor. I mean, Owens already defeated Cena,
He did.
and now Balor's going to return home. Like, the thing is, for Finn Balor to win the NXT title, the story is there. Because they're going back to Japan, where Balor got famous.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, I like Balor over Owens. So I want to see him win the title.
This
Jesus,
title?
to answer your question, NXT the takeover is going to be Wednesday, August 12th, and SummerSlam's like August 21st or 22nd, so it'll be before SummerSlam.
Dang. Well, whatever. This title, is always just going to stay here. So that's all that really matters.
You look like Anthony Smoody with that belt.
Because
You're only about 350 pounds lighter.
I know. I need some Taco Bell and some Mickey D's.
All at once.
At once. Oh, man. All the jokes you guys are missing not having Jesus and Ryan in your personal lives. We grew up some controversy here in the city full of wrestling. I think that works.
Oh, Jesus, are you going to SmackDown or Raw coming in the area?
When is Raw coming in the area?
Chicago, Monday night.
Oh,
I'll be there.
there's a possibility. That's in September, right?
No, it's this Monday.
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
Can I get Smoothie's ticket? You're on the air, so you can't go back.
I don't have it. Smoothie's not. He's going with his other friend. Oddly enough, he does have one.
You heard it here first.
Breaking news! And no, it's not a double cheeseburger either. It's an actual person.
It's going with the McHamburger. Well, what is the mayor of the McDonald's Village, the hamburger dude?
What are you talking about?
In the whole McDonald's characters, the mayor is a hamburger.
Hang on, let me Google it.
That's off topic. We can talk about this at a different time. Mayor McCheese. There you go.
Okay, there you go.
Anywho, I would like to. I didn't know about it because that's how out of touch I even am with WWE. I just don't care about the product anymore.
And they're in Milwaukee on Tuesday, but SmackDown's
Nobody's gonna pay to see SmackDown unless I get tickets again comped to me by an unknown source. I'm not going.
Yeah, me either. I'd rather be at Raw. Brock Lesnar's gonna be there.
On Raw?
Yep.
I've already seen him like 4 times, so it's
Me
a little
too.
worn off. Well, I mean, what were we gonna argue with Double J and Lesnar? We just kind of agreed and moved on.
Because you were saying that everyone is mad because Double J's unannounced return, but Lesnar gets an unannounced return. And
Yeah.
when we at first had the discussion, you were saying that it's the same thing.
The an unannounced return is the same thing, but I think the difference is WWE didn't get away with it because Lesnar wasn't on the roster, or TNA can't get away with it because it's an outside person. You have a international person because we're going to be PC like WCW. You can't have some international entity. For those that aren't
Right.
it's
But when we
foreign.
first had the debate, you were saying that it doesn't matter. Unannounced return is unannounced return. When I was saying that it's different because WWE needs a surprise and TNA needs to be must see. Like they
I'm gonna
need the
argue
ratings.
that I was being a devil's advocate because I'm pretty sure I fell asleep on that argument. So
That's why I thought we had a debate and you come in and agree, and I'm like, oh well, this isn't as exciting as I thought it was going to be.
yeah, I apologize. We hyped that up for an hour and just took a shit. No, I'll argue that though. But you should, if you're gonna have. No, I can't even argue it.
But what do you expect from us talking about a TNA on this podcast? I mean, is it going to be good?
It's just gonna be a lot of heat.
I do have one more thing that we didn't cover about TNA. If we want to get back to it,
Yeah, let's get back to it.
I was gonna say I feel like they get a pass from their fans.
Oh
And this
yeah.
kind of goes to Ryan. You said he's a TNA mark. It's just no matter what TNA does, there are these loyalists out there that are like, "Oh, TNA is so amazing," and it's just like, are we watching the same show?
See, I don't. On a weekly basis, I don't. Their show isn't half bad. I mean, everyone's too worried about Dixie Carter and what she's doing. I think on a weekly basis, Impact's actually pretty good.
And I have to agree with you. Since it came to Destination X, or Destination America, sorry, their weekly show has been entertaining when I sit down and watch. But maybe once or twice have I been like, oh crap, TNA comes on tonight, I need to watch it. Like, it's not must see. It's entertaining when I sit down and watch it. Yeah, I'm entertained for the 2 hours. But I'm not looking forward to the next week's show usually. I'm just like, oh, well now Wednesday, but before it was like, oh, it's Friday, TNA comes on, I'll watch it tomorrow. My thing is, last year, I ripped apart Destination X. Ripped it apart. In the midst of their biggest summer, everyone was like, oh, TNA is so amazing, TNA is so amazing. And they had good shows until Destination X. Ripped it apart because I'm like, if this is supposed to be your pay-per-view, it should be treated as a pay-per-view. You can't just change the name to Impact and show me the same crap you've been showing me for weeks. And people just still like accept it. This is TNA. TNA has good wrestlers. Eric Young's really good. Bobby Roode's really good. The wrestling is amazing. But what else do they have?
I mean,
Where's the story? Where's the must see?
I mean, these set of tapings, I think that they just did. I think they'll be still okay because these guys are still there that are leaving. But I think if you look at these next set of tapings, I want to say they have another set. I think in the end of July. I think that's when you like, because I think that's when you'll see probably it all crumble because they're not going to have any headliners anymore. EC3 is going to be obviously the top guy, if you want to say, but besides that, that's probably when it's going to be a turn for the worst.
Your main event's only as good as your undercard, and you're not going to be able to make people pay $50 to see a Rockstar Spud.
No.
As good as EC3 is, nobody's going to buy the undercard.
Mm-mm.
And the thing with EC3 is, who does he go forward with feuding with? So he's gonna take on Angle. Angle's leaving to go have surgery. I don't know if Angle sticks around after. I don't know his taping schedule. I don't know if he taped a couple weeks after or he just taped tonight's show. But even so, Angle gets his rematch. But then what? EC3 and Rude? And then who?
Graham. But you'd have to turn one of them face. Which would have to probably be EC3.
I mean, you have Lashley, but
Lashley, Matt Morgan.
Is Matt Morgan like there for? Was that just a one-time thing, or is he back?
And that I don't know either. That hasn't been stated.
No.
So.
There's just so many questions that I'm excited for tonight because it seems like it would be a good card. This is what we should have been watching on Sunday, but I'm a little concerned about what to go forward because there's all this GFW and Jeff Jarrett stuff surrounding it, but how much of it do we get to see over like the next 6 weeks or so?
Yeah, I mean,
That's pretty much it. And it's sad for a company. Their biggest attraction is their complete and utter dismantling of a company. Like, people are only tuning in. It's NASCAR at this point. They're only tuning in to see the crash.
It's like I said on our Facebook page, which you can follow us, facebook.com, Perfect Madness Wrestling. The only exciting thing about TNA now is who's leaving next.
Yep.
Hashtag free
So,
Bobby.
what are they gonna do? Like, okay, we have 6 weeks of the wrestlers that are now all gone, and like Ryan said, what happens next? Is anybody gonna get excited for any of those guys? People are just gonna
Right,
tune
it
in
just
because they want to watch the ship go down.
even if Aries and Rude win the titles tonight, it's like, okay, well, I know over the next 6 weeks they're going to lose them. At some point, they have to lose them.
Mm-hmm.
So it just, and then I'm watching Rude, and Rude's going to be on there, but it's like, oh, at some point during the next 6 weeks, he leaves. So they have a loser leaves town match. Well, guess who's going to win that one?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, I don't know. It's like if you knew these guys were leaving, why tape them on the show for the next 6 weeks? Like, just kind of get them off the TV and bring up your next guys, or even so, like, tape them in a way that they're bringing in the next guys. I mean, unless they did that, but
Is Chris Melendez, do you think he's just kind of a gimmick, or do you think he's got any potential at all?
That's to
he's been okay. I mean, he's been okay in the ring, but it's just I don't see him going anywhere.
Yeah, how
Like
far?
I don't see him as a world champion. Maybe an X Division champion for like a month.
Would you pay money to see him against Zach Gowen? I mean, honestly,
Wow.
that was probably bad, but.
Are you just pulling our leg there?
Oh.
But
One
there
of my
was that
favorite
guy
moments.
on Tough Enough, Mike Hayes, and I think he's down in Booker T's promotion.
Yeah, he's another one.
And
He's another one.
I don't know. I mean, there's 3 of them now. There was Gowen, and now there's Melendez, and then this guy, and it's just kind of like, I don't know, like we've seen it before.
But, I mean, I don't want to make a joke of the Melendez thing because he did do it defending our country, you know? But at the same
As well as Mike Hayes.
yes, so, I mean, I don't want this to come off as like we're making fun of him, but at the same time, it's, you know.
Yeah,
Like, here's my thing. If you're going to enter into something, like, I'm going to treat you like I treat everyone else in that profession. Like, you are not just in some indie promotion, you know, like, living your dream or whatever. Like, you're on national TV, and I'm going to criticize you like I would a Bobby Roode, like I would Eric Young. Like, if you can't cut it, you can't cut it. Like, yeah, you did a good job. You have one leg. I respect you for what you can do on one leg. But at the same time, like, if you can't hang with these guys, then there's no room for you.
The one thing you need to understand, though, is wrestling's all about making money. It doesn't matter what your ability is. If WWE can draw a buck off you, no, they're going to use you however they want.
But
Well,
see,
I don't think
WWE
that
could
guy
draw
should-
a block off Chris Melendez. WWE could use him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you got to get a leg up on your competition as well.
You're stepping in the wrong area.
But what is TNA going to do with them? What kind of exposure is that going to get him or TNA?
I mean, how many times did he get beat with his own leg? I mean, honestly, didn't Eric Young's done it? Didn't someone else beat him up with his leg, too?
I don't know. Honestly, I usually don't watch Chris Melendez segments.
You got to get a foot up on the competition, Adam.
It's called a fast forward button.
Yeah.
Or skip.
Well, pretty much you wouldn't watch Impact if you were going to fast forward all the bad stuff. Which is
You know, Rude comes out, like Bobby Roode comes out, cuts a promo, and then has a match. That's about 15 minutes, and that's how long it takes me for Impact. Hashtag free Bobby.
Are they going to put the title back on Bobby Roode, though? I mean, that's pretty much, besides EC3, that's the only suitable possible guy to have it, right?
Right. That's what I'm saying. That's money right there. EC3 versus Bobby Roode for like the next 5 years. That's all you need to show on Impact. Just 2 hour show of them cutting promos against each other and then having like an Iron Man match every week.
One of the best bits of Slammiversary was when EY and Rude were in the cage, and they're like, Team Canada! Team Canada! Like, yeah. That was great. And then EY was like, fuck you! And apologized halfway through the match.
EY said...
Okay, let's close this sucker up. We've been going at it for a while.
Okay.
So, let's sign off here. Who wants to go first? We'll give it to Adam, or we're pitching it to Ryan, because he went last.
What am I supposed to send off with?
Say, be like, yeah, I'm Ryan, remember, check me out.
Yeah.
Do you want to be TNA, or do you want to promote your stuff? Like...
Ringside Report Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays on YouTube/RB Enterprises with a Z. And then you got Ringside_rep as my Twitter. Check it out and all that fun stuff. Over to you guys.
You want to find you on Facebook?
Yeah, we're on Facebook too. Ringside Report. Yeah.
Jesus.
Christ.
Oliver. Adam.
You can find us on Twitter, PMW Podcast. We're on there periodically. More stuff happens on Facebook, though. Facebook.com, Perfect Madness Wrestling. All kinds of discussions going up there. For further information on my feelings of TNA over the past week, I have a couple articles up there on the site, perfectmadnesswrestling.wordpress.com. Go check those out. Just hit us up on any social media that you can find us, or leave comments on our page.
And you did a lot of the pubbing for me, so I don't know what else I need to really say. Follow me on social media at Jesus Oliver on Twitter. Follow me or friend me on Facebook at Jesus Oliver. And while we can't always promise that we'll be here weekly, we can promise when there's a hot topic and you want us to discuss it, in our opinion, we will record. We're getting in the swing of things again, picking back up now that there's more things to talk about after the post-WrestleMania lull. And we're excited to get back. We're coming up with a few different ideas to keep pushing it. I'm trying to find out what your... you can follow Adam on his Twitter at TheSavior45. And that's about it. Thank you all for listening.